Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Wednesdays for Water, an initiative of W4W Foundation, a think tank instituted as a citizens collective, we welcome you to the 79th session of the Wednesdays for Water talk series on community-driven irrigation water management. Wednesdays for Water was instituted in April 2021 with the objective to engage in conversation with water experts, grassroots practitioners, policymakers, and youth to explore the complex intertwined issues associated with water and explore possible solutions. We have expanded since then to have more activities like Friday Waters and Monday Munching with Women for Water, besides organizing water workshops, water walk and talks, seminars, special courses, and conference panels to continue the water conservation in various possible ways. Please visit our website, www.w4w.in for more details. Today, as you see, the topic for the conversation is community-driven irrigation water management. And there's absolutely a no-brainer that agriculture has been the highest user of fresh water in our country. In India, it almost uses 85% of the fresh water that is used across different sectors. The Central Groundwater Board has already declared 1/6 of our groundwater blocks as overexploited zones. Traditionally, we were using surface water for irrigation, but over a period of time, with the advent of the pumps and the energy subsidy that was being given by the government, farmers found it very convenient to extract water from ground and irrigate their fields. And gradually what happened was most of these common property resources like ponds, lakes, and tanks, which were community managed, started to fade away. And because there was absolutely no sense of ownership amongst people with regard to these common property resources. But today we are extremely honored to have with us the team from the Dhan Academy and the Dhan Foundation, represented by their director, Mr. Arumugam Gurunathan, and also by the project executive who has been implementing a lot of these projects at the grassroots level, Mr. Elamuhil. And the Dhan Foundation, for those of you who are not familiar, have been working extensively to promote, nurture, and build capacities on development themes such as microfinance, small-scale irrigation, dryland agriculture, water body rejuvenation. And with their efforts, they have been able to revive large number of tanks in Tamil Nadu and other parts of the country as well. And they have been able to build that reconnect which people had lost with the common property resources. So on that note, I would first like to invite the director, Dhan Academy, Mr. A. Gurunathan. Mr. Gurunathan is a graduate in agriculture engineering from Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, Coimbatore, and Masters in Rural Management from Institute of Rural Management, Anand. He is the director of Tata Dhan Academy from April 2015. He has experience in irrigation water management, tank irrigation systems through the projects sponsored by IFPRI, Washington, and Ford Foundation. He was instrumental in setting up a prestigious automatic dairy plant with Anand Milk Union Limited, more famously known as Amul, Anand, Gujarat. He has 17 years of experience in Dhan Foundation, working as chief executive of Dhan Foundation's water theme collective called Dhan Vayalagam, and that's Tank Valayagam is Tank Foundation, and has led a team of more than 115 professionals and para-professionals. I think his CV really runs very long, and I will be putting it in the chat box for the benefit of all of you. But it is indeed an honor, Mr. Gurunathan, to have you amongst us today. I know we have interacted and several times, and I am always very impressed and fascinated by the work that Dhan Foundation and the Dhan Academy is doing with regard to grassroots level water conservation practices. Over to you, Mr. Gurunathan.
Yeah, good evening, Dr. Fawzia. Thank you very much, and Dr. Monica for inviting us to deliver our experience as part of Wednesday for Water. I and my colleague, Mr. Elamuhil, will take you through. Before Elamuhil present the PowerPoint, I will give you the broader overview how Dhan Foundation got into this theme way back in 1992. Basically, Dhan Foundation is a professional development institution set up by a group of professionals, management professionals, engineers, and agriculture professionals, mainly to give back to the society and the purpose of eradicating poverty among the poor communities. That is how we identified in the early 90s two themes. One is called microfinance, which is nothing but a community banking program promoting women's self-help groups and linking them with the bank so that they can be taken away from the clutches of money lenders and empower the women to take care of their own livelihood promotions and coming out of poverty in a sustainable way. And for that, we promote social capital at the grassroots. And promoting social capital at the grassroots is one of the very fundamental approach of Dhan Foundation in any thematical interventions which we have been doing for the last 25 years. So in that perspective, we started in 1992. Before that, in the late 80s, in 88, 89, Ford Foundation funded an action research project for Anna University in Chennai, mainly to bring back the community management in tank system. So the tank system is very peculiar to South Asia, mostly in the hard rock areas of Deccan Plateau, mainly the five southern states, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and Karnataka. So there are nearly about 1/3 of net irrigated area contributed by tank system at the time of independence. But in the pre-colonial period, only the villages, respective villages were managing this surface water commons because it has to be maintained every year because the runoff water from the catchment area brings the top silt from the catchment and it deposits in the tank water store area, and that it has to be desilted every year. And there was a practice called Kudi Maramat. The community, able-bodied person from every household will go and do this tank maintenance regularly in the past. And the rulers, native rulers and kings and village chieftains, Jamindar used to give the wages for the work which they do. That is how these systems were maintained. And it was one of the efficient water management system. One tank fills, the surplus goes to the downstream tank, and that surplus from the tank goes to another downstream tanks. So it was having a cascading of effect, cascade of tanks at a micro watershed level and a macro watershed level. And not even a single water was wasted. And ultimately, the water goes to the very less water goes into the streams and rivers. So it was efficiently managed. The agriculture was thriving. But ever since the Britishers started ruling this country, these assets were transferred to the government, and the villagers have lost interest in maintaining this tank system. And always they started looking for everything to be done in the tank system. They have put the blame on the government, and the government was focusing on major and medium irrigation system. The less resource allocation for minor irrigation system made over these years tank getting decimated, and a lot of encroachment and other things came, and tanks have started disappearing in the context of urbanization, in the context of common infrastructure development, anything. So with the Ford Foundation, wanted to bring back this once upon a time very thriving irrigation system among the Indian tradition. So they funded Anna University for an action research project to revive this tank with promoting Water Users Association and give that whole tank maintenance and desilting to the whole association. Only the catalyst role has to be played by Anna University as a techno-managerial services in estimate preparation and other things. That is how they started. And initially with one tank near Chennai and later with another 15 more tanks in the subsequent projects. And then they thought that this model will be adopted by the government, and the private contract system in this type of tank renovation will fade away and community management be brought into the management of tank system. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen. So Dhan Foundation started in 1982. Why don't we take up this whole challenge of bringing back community management in the tank system, because it is a part of livelihood of small and marginal farmers. The average land holding of a tank system now is roughly about 0.5 hectare, around 1 acre and plus. It's very small and marginal farmers. If the tank doesn't fill up in a year, the livelihood of the farmers is at stake. So we started focusing on renovation of tank program in a thematic way, it's a programmatic way. We started as a pilot projects in Madurai East Block with 9 tanks, and nearly about 1/4 of the cost of rehabilitation has to be borne by the community, and remaining 3/4 we get the funding from the mainstream, a government through like employment assurance scheme, Jawahar Rojgar Yojana, and those type of schemes at that point in time. Slowly, we started funding from various donor agencies and also now of late very CSR. So nearly about 3/4 of the cost of renovation comes from the mainstream partners, corporate social responsibility partners, NABARD, and other type of funders. And 1/4 of the cost of rehabilitation to be borne by the community. If you give anything free to people, that maintenance and management will become is a problem, because people will look for similar type of funding henceforth also again. So we have a principles of community ownership has to be built by building the stake, by providing the, that is how we started this tank program in 1992, initially with the individual tank or isolated tanks, wherever the people are coming forward. And in 1998, European Union had given some sort of a tank modernization program to the state government of Tamil Nadu, where they wanted to renovate these tanks by contract system. But because of this currency appreciation, they have left out with unspent money. So the European Union wanted some unique novel program wherein they have to wanted to involve government agency, GO, NGO, non-governmental organization, and community association joined together and renovate a cascade of tank system in a drought-prone regions in Tamil Nadu. And that is how we started working on from the individual tank to a group of cascade of tank in a hydrological basin in Ramanathapuram district. And similarly, there are 2 more NGOs also stated similar things in other. And now our evolution started from single tank to cascade, and then cascade to watersheds, watersheds to sub-basin, sub-basin to basin, it grew. And the tank, we also focused only on the tanks, which are 2 system of tanks, only system tanks, and another one is non-system tanks. System tanks is the one which receives, which is all, it is a part of a basin. Whenever the reservoir is open for canal irrigation, some portion of the water is diverted to feed into series of tanks. They are called system tanks. So they are assured of water whenever the reservoir water is released for irrigation. But the tanks which are non-system, which are rain-fed, it has to depend only on purely on the rainfall. It has to be. So our focus has started into moving into the rain-fed tank, which is rain-fed non-system tanks. And thereby we started promoting institutions. Initially, we started only with farmers. That is why we called the Strong Farmers Association. Later, the tanks, water is not only for farmers, water is a common good, and we should move not only for the farmer, we should also include all the villages, all the households which are directly or indirectly getting benefited out of this water. So we started promoting tank association. So by the time there were a lot of World Bank program and other programs in the country were implemented by various NGOs, various government agencies, there should not be any. So we have branded our program interventions by Dan Foundation, and there are Indian trademark called Vayal Aham. In Tamil, Vayal is a wetland area irrigated by a tank system. We are organizing all the farmers which are benefiting from the tank. That is how we are branded as a Vayalagam. It is trademarked and it is under Indian trademark. So in India, we are working in 7 states. Including all South Indian states, and also in Bihar, we are working on harverting system, which is similar to a tank system, which are many agars are like a tank, pines are like a feeder channel. So we have been working in 7 states in India, partly in Odisha and mostly in Bihar and all southern states. And we are working with more than nearly about 4 lakh farmer families. These are very broadly we started, and we started promoting association at the village level and cascade association and federate at a federation level, at a block level, and which is a registered body, and they will be getting a lot of entitlement and programs like MGNREGA and all from the Panchayat directly and work with the Panchayat Union directly. This is how we enlarge the scope of renovation perspective and maintaining this. And we started another concept of endowment. Once the tank work is over, so 50% of the money will be contributed by the community, and we'll try to match another 50% by the individual donors or maybe agencies like Tata Trust, NABARD, and other type of fuel and other type of things. So it is kept as a fixed deposit, permanent fixed deposit in the name of the association. The interest from the fixed deposit is used for the maintenance of these tank system regularly. That because it's an earthen structure, so it needs to be maintained year on year. Otherwise, the silted up and other efficiency will go down. So these are all the some of the interventions we started doing it. Initially, renovation is a single approach, a one-time approach, whereas the agriculture is the permanent. Every year, farmer has to do. So our program from a tank renovation is our perspective enlarged to agriculture development program, tank-fed agriculture development program, and we say it's an integrated, holistic way of renovation of tank, agriculture, livestock, and other perspective together to benefit the farmers to move them out of the poverty. This is the approach we have been following it. So now, this is what I want to say very briefly, and Elamuhil will go to the nuts and bolts of our way of working and how do we bring the community irrigation management the Vayalagam way as part of his lecture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gurunathan. I think you really brought in a lot of good perspective with regard to how a community-driven water management program should be instituted from the beginning. Of course, your early start was more poverty, addressing the poverty and looking at how we can have microfinance to strengthen them. But I know that over a period of time, you graduated into water management programs, and then how really you went on to build a bottom-up approach with regard to engaging with the community. Building, I think you also told about tank association, and I think how important the governance part of it is there. So I am sure with Elamuhil's presentation, we will get a little more clarity with regard to how you go about doing it. But if we're looking at sustenance of programs, so what happens is that while you have the CSR initiatives and you have the initiatives by other donor agencies, multilateral organization, but a lot of projects we see, almost about 90% of the projects I see, they survive only during the project period and they actually fall flat after the end of the project period. And in your case, I see the endowment fund that you are creating for long-term sustenance of the program also is quite impressive, and I think it's worth emulating as well. So now we'll move on to Mr. Elamuhil, who is Masters in Water Resources Development and Irrigation Engineering and has been working with the Dhan Foundation for the past 6 years. He has skill sets in hydraulic and hydrologic modeling, remote sensing and GIS. After working with fisherwomen of Assam, he chose to work with marginalized communities and conservation of minor water bodies. He's currently anchoring Center for Urban Water Resources, a division of water thematics of Dhan Foundation. He has experience of working in water commons conservation with tribal, coastal, and urban communities. Elamuhil, thank you very much for joining us today. And over to you to take us through the presentation, the Valayagam way.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So, I will skip the first 2 slides as it was already shared by our director. So, I will share another story which is done in one of the villages called Kallukatti Urani, which is in Kambur of Tamil Nadu. It comes under Pambar Basin. So, in the picture, you can see there is a segmentized portion which is considered as the Urani drinking water pond, which is associated with that the larger irrigation tank. So the water in the irrigation tank that seeps through the bund and it is collected in the Urani, and people collect this particular water from this Urani for drinking purpose. And traditionally they have a practice of having a common asset as a goats. So every year they buy 250 goats and they rear the goats. They assign a particular person to rear all these 250 goats, and after a year they sell all these matured goats, and the income generated to this through this activity will be invested on restoration of the ponds and the tanks. So this is one example, like how anciently how the practice was done by the communities to generate income through various livelihood activities and invest in the tanks and also Uranis which they use. So nearly 6,000 families are dependent on particular Urani, and every year they used to restore this particular Urani, and village takes the responsibility of restoring this particular Urani. So over a period, as Sartel told that post British and also post independence, the practice was slowly diminishing, and then there was a need to bring back the particular practice from the memory of the old people and also re-practice that practice. So that is where the Vailakam in the Pambar Basin was promoted in the particular Kambur village, and the same practice was revived. And currently they are rearing the goats and also investing on the Uranis. So this is one classic example where we can learn from the communities how they are generating income collectively and investing in the commons. And so from this example, we can go to the big picture that how we are approaching the basins or the tank system. So whenever we go to any location, whenever we want to intervene in any of the location, we will go for the screening process, and we will try to understand the number of water bodies and the nature of the water bodies and how they are maintained by the communities, what is the past of the communities, and also the relation between water bodies and the community, and what are the different segment of the community who are connected with this particular water body, and also the viability of the federation that we are going to promote it so that the institution will be sustainable. So post screening, if the location is very favorable and there is a need for the implementation, then we will be going for inception document preparation. Then we will be having people learning exercises with the villages wherever there is a need for intervention. So this people learning exercise helps us to bring back the traditional practices that are practiced by the community in the past, and we try to revive, and also we explore the scope to revive or the scope to conceptualize these particular traditional practices to the current practice. And post these people learning exercises, then we form the Vailakam. The Vailakam includes not only the Ayakat farmers, the Commandaria farmers, but also it includes all the direct beneficiaries or direct people who are engaged with the water bodies. Example, like washerman community, and also people who are having fishing or goat rearing or livestock rearing. So they are also part of the Vailakam. And during our early stages, most of the Vailakams were highly with the presence of the male farmers, but over a period, the women farmers started to come forward in formation of Vailakam, and especially in Pambar Basin, there is a large number of women participation and women leaders who were part of the Vailakam, and they are taking this Vailakam forward. So once the Vailakam is formed, then we go into the process of the community planning exercise, where we involve the other stakeholders, especially the Panchayat, when it comes to the union tank, and when it comes to the PWD, then we involve the PWD and corporation in terms of urban area. So it is a collective planning exercise, and the planning exercise will be led by the Vailakam, which will be guided by the Dan Foundation, and also we encourage the communities to invest in this particular intervention. So the investment ranges from 10% to 50% when it comes to the commons, and community shows much interest towards investment. In initial stages, the investment by the community was challenging, but over a period, the communities who realized the importance of this community investment, they motivate the rest of the communities to invest for their water bodies. And later, once the investment is shared by the community, then the remaining part, 50 or 70%, will be shared by the donor or any other funding agencies. And collectively, the estimates will be prepared by the community, and also the technical support will be provided by Dan Foundation, and it will be verified by the community. And once the community approves these estimates, then they will be going for implementation. So they will be taking the quotations from different agencies to implement, different methodologies to implement. So they will go for the low cost model and the effective model. Then they will implement. So the Dan Foundation or Vailakam Foundation will be supporting them in implementation process, in maintaining the books of accounts, and also monitoring the implementations. Then post implementation, then the Vailakam is responsible for monitoring and maintenance. That's where the endowment fund comes in a page. And also the next is like the to support. So once the irrigation tanks are restored, then the benefits are cherished by both the large farmers, small farmers, marginal, and also landless. But again, there is a threat of like small and marginal or landless falling into the clutches of large farmers to get loans or to invest in their farms. So in those cases, then the agriculture finance groups were promoted in the villages, which includes primarily the landless and also the marginal farmers. So this is basically a SRG for farmers. So they will be linked with the banks so that they can get the like bank linkages with lower interest. And also the Vayalaham started to promote the Jeevitam groups, which are the farmer producer groups, the primary producer groups. So it will be a part of farmer producer organization. So that so that the middleman would not exploit these small and marginal farmers in marketing these products. So then the focus was in livelihood advancement initiatives, where the alternative livelihoods such as cattle rearing or livestock rearing or like herbal collections and other activities. So a lot of agriculture related and non-agriculture activities also promoted based on the need, so that the communities can move out of poverty. Because the AN Foundation aligns itself with the Gandhian philosophy and it works towards poverty eradication, especially with the marginalized communities. So as already explained by our director, like the Vayalaham has evolved over a period from the isolated irrigation tank towards the river basin approach. So initially, like we were working in isolated irrigation tanks. Then as the tank is part of the cascade system, it is not sufficient to restore just some of the tanks. So we have to restore the complete cascade so that all the tanks would be filled during the rainfall season. So that's where we went for the cascade level associations promoted, and this also resolves the disputes among the farmers in sharing the water. So here they have practiced that the surplus, the level of surplus, like the water will be stored, the water will not be released in the sluice by the upstream tanks until the downstream tank is full. So that is where this is what the virtue that were followed by the communities, so that there will be equity in sharing the water. And also like the cascade associations resolves other issues like encroachments in the waterways that brings the water also. So post the cascade level association, there is other level of association, that is sub-basin level association. So this tries to like solve the issues among the sub-basin and trying to take the bigger issues to the account of like administrators and other thing. And also watershed level interventions are also happening in this level. And in the upper level, like now currently we are working as in the basin approach, where we have promoted basin level associations. So this will be represented by the farmers from the Vayalahams, from the villages. So it is from Vayalaham, then to cascade, then to sub-basin, then to the basin. And also we have the Vayalaham mutual movement. So this mutual movement will be taking care of bringing the farmers towards the governance and also the administrative system, so that they can have a bigger purchase power from the government and also can tap a lot of resources towards implementation, and also create policy decisions, like suggest some of the policy decisions and voice themselves in the greater forums. And this is our nested institution model. So here community is the center, and then the program, that is the Vayalaham program or a Kalanjiyam program or any other program, will be the mother federation program, where it is a block level federation. So the communities in the villages that belongs to particular block will be part of this particular federation, and they will be doing the primary program. For example, the Vayalaham Foundation will be taking care of water resource and also agriculture based development activities. And the next level is the SPICE institutions. So these are specialized people institutions for community empowerment, where they will be taking care of the support like insurance, because the agriculture is one of the vulnerable post the climate change interventions. So here to support them, they run specialized insurance program, even people mutual insurance programs. And also we have Kalanjiyam Development Financial Services, which provide the bridge loans until the communities get loans from the centralized banks. And also we have like Jeevidam, which is the marketing wing of that. So this will be working on livelihood enhancement and also collective marketing for these farmers. And we have Sugam program, which try to address the leakage of the community in health sector, so that it gives good support in like in terms of health and sanitation. And we have housing for poor, where the poor will be getting an opportunity to get the entitlements from the government, also constructing their home in a better price and also in a good quality. So these are some of the institutions which support the mother institution, the Velham in the block level, so that it is trying to address the leakages of the poor so that they can move out of poverty. And apart from that, the centers that gives the technical support and also the policy support to these programs, so that they go on taking the researchers, studies, and also trying to change the models and upgrade the models that are to be implemented. And also we have the greater forums networks. So these networks are a collective platform where we can have a knowledge sharing and also learn and co-learn from them. So this is a structure which is involved. And we have different platforms like a symposium. The communities conduct their own symposium, so that these symposiums will be like a forum where they will share their knowledge, and also they bring a lot of stakeholders to understand their model and also learn from those models. So we are looking across the context, different contexts. So one is rural. So here the focus is livelihood enhancement. So here we restore the water commons, both water bodies and waterways, and also drinking water ponds called Uranis. Then in Bihar, we are working with the restoration of a harverting system, and a lot of rainfed area, we are working with watershed development. And especially as a climate resilient approach, we are going with the farm ponds, which are like associated with, which are giving a lot of support to the tail and tank farmers. And also here, the focus is on climate resilient tank-based agriculture and also rural livelihoods enhancement. When it goes to the coastal context, then we focus on combating seawater intrusion, because post that, when the electricity is free to the farmers, then they extract a lot of water from the groundwater, and this creates an opportunity to the sea water to intrude into the groundwater table. So here, we are working with the farmers to restore the water bodies, and also we are facilitating the revival of sluice operation in particular tanks, so that the sluice will be operated, not that bore wells or the dug wells. So this is one of the important practice that we are following. And apart from that, we also work in watershed development in the coastal area and also in the farm ponds, and also domestic domestic ponds, because here the clay packing is only for like 2 to 3 meters. Then beyond that, there will be a sea water. So we are going for the surface domestic water ponds, which are highly utilized by the communities. And also we are working with the focus of disaster resilient coastal farming. And when we go to the urban, then here the focus is totally different, where we are trying to build the sense of commons with the communities, trying to connect the urban community with the commons, so that they don't see water bodies just like another land use or any wasteland, or they don't even consider it as a free right, so that they will be owning it and cherishing it and also working on it. So we try to reconceptualize these water commons so that it can be very much appreciated by the communities and utilized by the communities, and it will bring the connection between the communities and the water bodies. Here, not in the restoration, we go for regeneration of water commons, then safe usage of seabeds for agriculture, roof water harvesting for drinking in the institutions and although individual. And here the major area where we work is eviction of encroachment. When it comes to the tribal, then we focus on ensuring access to drinking water for everyone and also the domestic water. So here the focus is on restoration of community wells, ponds and tanks, and watershed development. And also we work majorly with the inland fisheries, fishing women who are working in the tribal context in the individual level ponds. So here we are trying to work with the communities to secure the water and nutrition of the communities and also livelihood enhancement. And when we go to the community investment model, like when it comes to water commons, we ensure 25% investment by the community. So the investment from the community might be from the Ayakat farmers based on the Ayakat presence in the tank, or otherwise from the common fund that is available in the villages. And when it comes to the farm ponds for the individuals, then we go 50-50. That is 50% investment by the community and 50% from any other funding resources. In some of the cases, when there is a high demand for farm ponds, like example, like Ramnad, people even invest 100% on a loan basis. So when it comes to individual farm level interventions, then it is 100% investment by the community. It is a loan-based investment. The loan will be like a revolving fund. So the fund revolves within the community over a period, and it is the interest-free loans, so that the communities can use this particular loan product. And it is not just few farmers who can get benefit. It will be like creating a multiplier effect among the communities. So this revolving fund is one of the highly viable product that is appreciated by the community and helps the federation to be more sustainable. And the dashboard of the Dan Welham Tank Foundation, Dan Foundation is working with 16 states, and also the Welham Foundation directly working in 7 states. And so far we have promoted 6,500 Welhams, and we have reached 4 lakh farmer families, and we have promoted agriculture finance group near to 10,000, and we have 450 cascade associations, and we are working with 71 blocks, and we have the mutual federations and the 45 FPOs, and also like we link the farmers with the banks to around 250 crores. So that's what we are working with. And also we have restored so far 4,200 water bodies. So this is what we have done. And every year we come out with moved out of encroachment. So this is one of the publication we come every October 2nd, Gandhi Jayanti day. So we declare like this year how much amount of land has been recovered from the encroachment, and how the communities have intervened in it, and a lot of case studies are available with us, and how it took the community, it built the capacity of the community in the process of encroachment eviction, and what are the different challenges in encroachment eviction irrespective of the context, and how much years they struggled for evicting the encroachment. These are documented every year, and last year like we have evicted encroachment for 120 acres of land from different water commons. And at last, like we would share, like, so here we build the social capital. We are working with the demand stream, and we are enabling the demand stream. So we are the enabler, so that they can be well utilizing the supply stream, that is the government or any other institutions that are promoted for the welfare of the community. And we also enable the professionals to work with these communities, so that the community can take the highest possible from the supply stream. Yeah. Thank you. And over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Elamuhil. I think I completely got engrossed in your presentation. What a beautiful example of how you can really involve community and how you can keep them motivated also to preserve the traditional water system. I think very beautifully keeping your core objective, with which Dhan Foundation was instituted. I think through Gurunathan sir's initial overview and through your presentation, I think the whole foundation of Dhan, of course, is money that we talk about, but poverty eradication. And you never sort of diluted your core objective. You maintained your core objective, and you then started creating enabling environment around that. You also started to make community feel the benefit of it. You also ensured that community has a stake in all the projects. So what happens is sometimes, we just build something and come back. And because the community doesn't have a stake when I really mean that even monetary stake, since they have invested in those projects, I think it becomes very crucial that when they have invested money, they are able to sort of value that project even more than without investing if you provide them. And perhaps, you've also looked at all the aspects, and I really liked in your presentation that you have kept the tribal outside of rural. Because sometimes what happens is we sort of try to look at the rural and poor and tribal as one homogeneous group, and we try to club them together, but their needs are really differentiated. Their needs are so different from each other. And hence, the specific needs of the tribal communities, because their challenges are way too more than a normal rural person. So I think that's a very beautiful thing, where you also said that you have looked at small scale fisheries or artisanal fisheries, where you're looking at fisherwomen, who probably are the challenges around that. I think that was something that very beautifully came out. The other thing that I think was also with regard to how you looked at smaller units. So how you broke down that larger chunk into smaller building blocks. And when you said that from the community level, you went on to micro watersheds, and then to sub-basin and the basin scale, and how you involved all the stakeholders. So it wasn't just the community, but you also sort of involved the government, the corporation, the municipality which was there, and the panchayat, the people, the academic institutions that you have involved. I think that's again a very good approach to really a sustainable solution, developing something that is perhaps long lasting. And as I mentioned, the governance becomes a major issue. A lot of government policies are not able to really trickle down to the local people, because we don't have a proper governance system in place. And sort of this is something, by the people, for the people, of the people. Like literally you are empowering them to take control of the common property resources. So I think this is such a beautiful presentation. Thank you very much, Mr. Gurunathan and Mr. Elamuhil. We will now open it up for questions, and we have a couple of them already I see in the chat box, but I would really invite, if Ajit sir, if you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question. And Gurunathan sir, Elamuhil, I know you can't switch on your video, you have some, but if you can switch on your video, if there is a possibility, it would be really nice to see you as well. Oh, thank you so much.
Can you hear me? Good afternoon to you.
Yes, Ajit sir. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Gurunathan sir and Elamuhil sir. Vanakkam. And I've been hearing Done Foundation for a very, very long time. You have been doing excellent work, and I really appreciate your good work. I just wanted to know, nowadays we talk about naturally based solutions for pollution prevention. Suppose you get sewage, coming into your stream or into your pond or into any water body. What type of treatment do you use online? I mean, that is on the stream only, on the flow only. What type of treatment? I can suggest DVATs. I've been doing a little bit of DVATs and DVATs type of treatment, deep ponding and others. Do you use a similar one or some others? For any polluted water?
Yes. We have a floating wetland system and also biowells. And most likely this is like a BCC, behavioral change communication. The polluters should not be polluting, and since we are building a community network, so they go and educate this thing. And in fact, we have also promoting DVATs as one of the approach in common buildings, so that they can reuse whatever the used water. This thing, and we have experimented this agri-water pollution project in peri-urban tank. Maybe Elamuhil can share how do we go about it, Ela?
So, like in one of our tank, we took farmers to different models that are available in Hyderabad, Bangalore, and farmers chose the model which is very much cheaper and which they can handle, which is the constructed wetlands. And even they don't want to go into the floating wetland because it was very difficult for them to handle the floating wetlands. But they adapted the constructed wetlands, and it is showing like a good result. There is a reduction in BOD and COD and to the level of 50%, and we have seen the effects in the reduction in pesticide application in the farms also. So
very good.
Yeah, we have done that, and mostly we go with community planning process. So whichever is easy for them to handle, that's what we try to implement.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I have also been practicing some sort of DWATS treatment of core thing is nalas to parks, which I've done in a nala at Delhi. 60 kl of nala water has been taken and given to parks in a very, very affluent colony. Around 10 to 15 acres of parks have been irrigated. So this happens in the urban area. Thank you very much. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you very much, Ajit sir. I think Gurunathan sir, in fact, the last association that we had with when we did a training program on agriculture-based water pollution and land-based water pollution, I think you did have a project where you were trying to address this issue, if I'm not mistaken, with some project partners. Huh?
Yeah, it is funded by Caritas Switzerland, the US Department of State funding, mainly on addressing this agri-water pollution, which is alarmingly in South Asian countries. So Nepal, Sri Lanka, India, and Bangladesh were a consortium partner. India was, we have taken the responsibility of, one is a policy, consolidating the policies of this pollution, handling the pollution, how these pollutions are handled at different levels, and why people are not talking about this agri-water pollution. So what are all the different sustainable technologies which we can overcome with this, all these things we have attempted. One such things was that Ilas had just said, we have taken few free peri-urban tanks where we were getting a lot of, because especially in Madurai, these fertilizer shop owners, after our farmers, they wash their fertilizer bags in the river water, Vaigai River. So these residue fertilizers, which again goes into the tank, which are fed by these type of things. And similarly, the upstream farmers who are applying fertilizers in excess and leave some of those things, they all come here, and also the urban water sewer also let into it. It's a complex process. So we segregate these things at a different level. And maybe we also experiment with the floating wetland, as Kila said. For managing this floating wetland by the farmers, it's difficult. So we go for constructed wetland, and because of that, there is a very, very positive results. So what is more important is like educating the community. These changes are community. Even in fact, the drinking water side, what we do, people mentality is all piped water supply is clean and safe. But we give them a simple technique of using moringa seed, grounded moringa seed. If they put it in the water overnight and the color changes, then she say there is a coliform in your water. You think you are drinking a very safe water. The coliform, which affects your intestine, and you are getting all this diarrhea. So where from this coliform comes from? Comes from all the human excreta and animal shits. So how you can control all these things? So if you stop polluting these water bodies, pristine water bodies, where you are consuming water, that is how we bring the change. So like this, we do a lot more community or household level water treatment, household level this thing, and also at a large level. So that is how we are doing the practice. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gurunathan sir. A very strong point that you brought out. A lot of these issues are behavioral, and hence, while we can think of a lot of bringing in science, but how do we really bring about behavioral change? I see two hands. There is also a question or a request for farmer exposure visit to Vealagam areas and near Assam, and I think you have already said Bihar, Munger, and Gaya. But maybe if we can put your email ID in the chat box with your kind permission, so that Mr. Singh can get in touch.
You can put it, and myself, Mr. Praveen and Ela, 3 mails you can change. So
Yeah,
you can
sure. I will do
address.
that, so that people who are interested, because these are really very good examples, and they can definitely take their farmers. Mansi, over to you. And then we have a few more questions coming up. Huh?
Okay, thanks, Fawzia. Thank you so much. And thanks so much for the wonderful presentation. It feels to me that Aries have come alive in my studies and all. So my question is more on the water commons, because you have wonderfully explained how you go with the decision what community prefers, and because you want to use their wisdom. And at the same time, you do mention that it is important to also make them aware of a lot of other things. My question to you is, between the areas where we have this canal system, because they become lifeline of the areas. So one thing is to do the tanks, but the other thing equally important is the canals, which are connecting the areas or the tanks. How are those managed as commons? Because I feel that that may be a bigger challenge than managing the area or the tank itself. So I will stop here and keep it short, because it's really very engaging discussion. We still have one of the classic case of Tamil Nadu in the country, where we can still look for some hope on water management system. So over to you, Fawzia.
Thank you, Fawzia. Thank you, ma'am. See, you well said. The prioritizing the farmer is itself. This first is water acquisition. Without this canal, the water may not come from the catchment to the tank. So the investment, again, it will be a bad investment. So many times this canal are marred with encroachment. That's what Mr. Elamuhil said. We evict the encroachment. It's a legal thing. It is a civil type of offense. So when you bring farmers together and they go and take the survey records, and they go and pay the money for paying the boundary stone, and then make a complaint to the district authorities and revenue authorities to help them to evict the encroachment. And most of the time, these encroachers are the nearby adjoining farmers or some powerful political persons. So since community come together, they will, after a season, they will evict. And that makes us the things easy for us to bring the canal desilting of supply channel or feeder channel is the first and foremost priority. Second, our approach is water. Once we ensure this supply, augmenting the water storage. That means desilting of the bed, the tank bed, according to the tank memoir, which is the hydrologically, what is the storage which is supposed to hold in this tank. So we do that. The third aspect is water distribution. From the tank, it has to go for agriculture and other things. So if in the distribution structures, in the sluice and other things, if there is any difficulty or any challenges or a reconstruction, we do that. Then finally, water usage by the community, where how economically use of this. See, we always say tank is one of the efficient water use system among all these three systems, because it is a protective irrigation system. Farmers will not irrigate the land when there is a monsoon is happening. Between one spell to another this extended dry spell, then only they take water from the tank for irrigating their crop from wilting. So it is so they have a common irrigator system in South India. We call as Neerkatti or Neergandi or different names in South India. So they are all normally comes from the scheduled caste community. They used to irrigate water according to the stages of crop growth, and they get in return paddy or whatever the commodities which farmers they grow as a wages in those days. Now they get money for 1 acre. They get this much rupee like this. Slowly, this system is also dying. So the irrigation usage is another. So it's a very systematic process. So there is canal is lifeline of this thing. So that is our first and foremost priority. Ila, if you want to substantiate, you are welcome. Ila.
Yes. So that's where the cascade level association helps, ma'am. So our cascade level associations helps in reviving these feeder channels and also the canals, so that it ensures water for the tail end farmers also.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, Mansi, for that very interesting question. I think very important that, you know, if you don't feed, then from where does the water come? And how difficult it gets to really reclaim some of these feeder canals, which, as Gurunathan sir also said, that have been already encroached upon. And I think the ahar pine, especially that you're doing in Bihar, maybe a lot of those ahars which are there. Ahar is food, huh? And ahar, how it really connects to the pine. The pine is basically the storage through like the canal system. How do you really provide that? I think that's very, very important. Maybe we'll need another session to understand the whole project of Bihar also, because ahar pine is again different from the cascaded system of tanks. And I think we would really look forward to inviting you more and more to really learn about this. But now I will move on to Gurunathan sir. You have a point to make here? Then we move to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Since the time of this is 1 hour, we have a lot of YouTube videos in our website.
Right, sir.
People can www.don.org, go to the videos, and a lot of our documentaries talks about tank systems. And all this, whatever we have explained, you can physically see as a very simple document in different parts of country. So you can also make use of it. If you have still this thing, you are welcome. That's what I wanted
really
to
good.
share.
So that's really good. I think we can use that as education material also. But I'll move to one more question. I see one more hand raised. Nunavat Gandhi, can you please go ahead and ask your question?
Hi, Mr. Gurunathan and Ila. I see your involvement in communities are great, and you're working in southern parts. Southern parts are mostly have plain lands like plateaus, but I am also interacting in a community where it's fully terrain, and you cannot see any plain land to sustain a water body and thing. So how much ever rainfall comes, it flows, and we are also trying to build some water tanks to protect it, but we are not able to. So do you have any techniques or technology which can be specially designed for terrain areas where the slope is around, the head is around 10 meters, 12 meters, or sometimes 50 meters as well?
Thank you, Nunavat. Which part are you working? If you can just tell us which part are you working?
So, Bastar, Chhattisgarh.
Okay, great. Elamuhil,
Ila, you have, but normally I think maybe in those type of things, traditionally there used to be a lot of swamps because your trees, all the trees, the roots of the trees will allow the rainwater percolate down, and these whole rocks in this hilly area, such things will either as a waterfall or streams and these type of things. So there are some places they have attempted like surangams in Kerala, or even in some other CSE, Center for Science and Environment, also have some approaches in this type of hilly areas, but we are not working on any such technologies. Ila, you have come across any such models, Ila?
Yes. So like we have worked on some of the spring sheds so that the communities can tap these spring sheds, and our colleague Mr. Lokesh is working with MISAC in reviving these spring sheds where communities are using this spring water for irrigation, domestic, and also drinking purpose. And we have also promoted some of the farm ponds which are highly recommended in those areas where communities can tap the water and also utilize for livestock or any other farm activities. So one of the farm ponds which we have implemented in Gurunathan, so their communities has used this farm pond just not to support their farms, but also they cultivate the crops inside the farm pond when they are dry, well utilizing the soil moisture. So these are some of our practices which we have practiced, and we don't have much experience in those areas, and we don't understand the context of that is there also. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you
very much, and thank you, Nunavat, for that question. I think there are traditional water management systems for the terrains as well. So any places like, for instance, you have in the Himachal Pradesh where they look at the kul, the earlier kuls. Of course, now there are concrete kuls which are there, KUHL. So if you look at kul system, earlier they used to be kacha kuls, and they were used actually for diversion-based irrigation system. Then you have in Assam also where you have the Apatani and other, where again the water flows from the mountains and how they are really brought through the trenches and how these trenches act as infiltration, infiltration units. And then how they are brought to the fields from there. So if you look at diversion-based irrigation system, there are several of them which are also there for terrain, and there are good books which you can actually read. I think there's one book by Anil Agarwal which is on dying wisdom. And if you read the book on dying wisdom, you will actually see a lot of these traditional water management systems which are there, but we'll be happy to discuss it more. Mansi, you have some point to make here?
Yeah, I was just thinking that you already talked about Bihar and now Mr. Nunavati is talking about Chhattisgarh. So now it's good time that we invite them to also present Chhattisgarh and Bastar in our platform. So
Yes,
just a
absolutely.
little nudge here to
Yes.
add here.
We can have a full series of this whole system and we can have people from all over, I think. Yeah, so please write to us. I think Mansi has already put the email ID there. Please write to us with your availability on Wednesdays, and we'll be happy to invite you for a more detailed conversation. And thanks, Mansi, for reminding that. We have one more question, and I think that should be the last question for us today. Maligai, you have something to say, huh?
Yes, ma'am. So basically, I'm from Tamil Nadu, and here in my hometown, the farmers are not allowed to fetch water from the tank. Here, they do have sluices, but most of the sluices are blocked, and the farmers don't have the practice of cultivating the crops through the water that has been fed from the sluices. So instead, they depend on the groundwater. The depth of borewell here is more than 1,500 feet. So my question is that I have seen that the government departments, they have taken up action in construction of recharge structures, maybe a recharge have something like that. So is there any methodology or anything to estimate the quantity of water that can be recharged in aquifer in case if a recharge shaft is constructed in a tank?
Okay, I'll put that question. Maligai, could you please tell us which part of Tamil Nadu you are from?
So I'm from Hosur, which is closer to Bangalore.
Okay, Hosur, huh?
I can try to answer her.
Yes, sir, please, sir.
And Ila also will complement. So basically, there are this government policymakers' decision. Of late, the tanks, they close the sluice through government order, and they allow the water because thinking that the water, if it is go for open channel irrigation, a lot of water get wasted. They don't understand farmers use their tanks only for protective irrigation, not for flooding irrigation. Normally we do in a canal system where water logging is a major issue. But it is a policy decision by many states, and they close the sluice thinking that the farmers who are having well, because all farmers may not have the well, and the groundwater is again, it is a business. So they exploit unscrupulously, and whatever the issues which you are mentioning is happening. So that is, we have a solution for such things. So now even the tank system, we instead of open channel irrigation, we give a loan to farmers to take the water to the pipeline, so that there will be less wastage of water, and this water will also travel very quickly to till the tail end. This water is being wasted. And in Nalgonda district, the entire Nalgonda district, it's through the government order in 70s, they closed. We are also working in Nalgonda districts. And where we need to educate the farmers, the more they, because again, it's a fluoride affected. So they think the tanks, if it is stores water permanently, and it will dilute the fluoride level in the groundwater. That is the one scientific belief. And in fact, some of that fluoride area which we have worked, that dilute the fluoride in the long run. Because it's all hard rock area where in all the Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra, it's a part of Deccan Plateau. It is a hard rock zone. The recharge of hard rock zone, in hard rock, it is about 15 to 20%. If you store 100 liters of water, only 15 to 20 liters will percolate to the aquifer. And remaining all will be either used for life storage or it will go for evapotranspiration. So many people are not doing a very, very systematic scientific investigation and go with these decisions. There's all hatchpodge decision taken, and ultimately it gets into the problem. So this is what our own understanding. There is an exclusive institution you call the National Institution of Hydrology for hard rock areas in Belgaum. They have done a lot of studies, research studies. They have published many papers. You can also look into their website and their publications to get more insight into it. So now, Ila, do you have any other suggestions from your experience, Ila?
So along with this Bhabatam Research Center, like we have done isotope studies to understand the groundwater recharge. And here we talk only about the groundwater table, not the deep aquifers. So the tanks recharge the groundwater table, not only the tanks, but the command area also recharges the groundwater table. So the contribution of command area is much larger than the tank because the tank gets silted again and again. So like as a school of thought, Dawn Foundation, it believes in surface water system because there the sense of commons is there, and when it goes to groundwater system, then we see it as a private property. So we stick to the groundwater system, like we stick to the surface water system, and we encourage farmers to go with the effective surface water system for irrigation system. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gurunathan and Elamuhil. And I think Maligai, the email address of all the speakers are there in the chat box. And if you really want to connect with them to know more about it, because obviously geology plays a very big role when we are looking at artificial recharge or even natural recharge for that matter. So you just can't have a Jal Shakti Abhiyan and keep making ponds everywhere or keep just trying randomly to recharge the groundwater. There is a scientific basis to it, and perhaps it's that science and science community, I would say, interface becomes very, very important if we're looking at successful models. But on that note, I would first like to tell all my participants who are there today, I know a few of them have left also, that in January, we are taking a break. Mansi has already put it in the chat box. We are going to celebrate. We have completed more than 100 sessions across our Wednesdays, Mondays, and Fridays. And we are taking a break in January to celebrate whatever we have done over time and to reflect and to see how we can really strengthen ourselves in due course of time. We have a water festival that we are organizing on 11th and 12th of January in TIS Hyderabad. And this is on Be Like Water on the theme. We would be sharing the invitations with all of you, but at the same time, please visit our website, www.for.w.com for knowing more about .in for knowing more about our presentations, our festival. Also visit our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and you can find more detail about the upcoming programs there as well. So on that note, I would like to thank Mr. Gurunathan and Mr. Elamuhil for such a comprehensive, explanation of how a community-based tank irrigation system can be made functional and workable and sustainable. And I know 1 hour was very little to know all the amazing work that you are doing, and we will remain connected to learn more from your other projects as well. But today we are extremely thankful on behalf of W4W Foundation that you took out time and joined us and shared with us some of your work. We wish everybody a very happy new year. Thank you, participants, for joining. Thank you, members from my team. Monica is there, Mansi is there. Thank you for all the background support that you have provided for this conversation series. And we look forward to meeting you again in the new year. Thank you.